I mean, there's something really cool to be said culturally about what we're doing in a state like this and in a time like this. The way that tech is changing and the way that life is changing, people are going to be drawn more and more to smaller, homegrown, tastes of where they're at.
What we want to accomplish here is really to amplify what Arizona, number one, is capable of doing in terms of the winemaking, but second of all, it's a beautiful part of the world.
It's just wide open spaces, so when you get up in the morning, you can see from one side of the valley to the other side of the valley.
This is a wild place to be growing grapes. At elevation and the intensity of sunlight here is off the charts. And I think it definitely plays into the character of the wines that we make from this place, these places across the state.
My perspective on Arizona wine is an interesting modern culture that has been emerging since Gordon Dutt, the cool soil scientist, decided, hey, let's study if grapes grow here.
Gordon Dutt, he was a soils professor from the U of A, started with some colleagues a viticulture project in all the Four Corners states. They planted multiple test plots in each state in early to mid 70s and had the grapes made into wine at a research station in Tucson, and then had trained tasting panels assess them for quality. In all of the states, the Sonoyta Elgin area in Arizona was, in his opinion, the best for quality, and that's why he planted here, and that's what got this whole thing started. 50 years later, after Gordon's research, we now have 3 wine regions separated by hundreds of miles that are federally designated American viticultural areas.
The wine and the grape growing community here in Arizona is growing exponentially.
Over the years, 2 things have continued to get better: the farming and the winemaking.
I think that Arizona will always be a boutique industry and it will be rugged and rough, but now there's just like so much cool talent cobbling on top of it. I don't think it can be stopped.
So the French have a concept called terroir, basically referring to how important the plot of ground is that makes any given wine.
When we think of this idea of terroir, it's really this relationship between the soil and the weather, and how the soil composition affects what you're going to be tasting in the grape.
I think one of the most unique things about Arizona wines is that we're growing grapes in the desert.
The whole reason this industry exists in Arizona is due to scarcity of water. That was the whole impetus and why Gordon did the research that he did, all based on trying to maximize the value of the crops grown per unit of water.
Arizona's full of challenges, especially for winemaking. We have heat, late frosts, and from the monsoons we get some hailstorms. If a grape struggles, then it tends to have more character. Arizona fruit does struggle, that's for sure. It gets hit with a lot of different kinds of variables that I think that don't happen as much in other states.
This tends to inhibit crop load, so it focuses flavor into the grapes, and Arizona tends to have lowish yields for sure compared to other states where it's much easier naturally to grow fruit. It tends to produce wines that have distinct character, spicy, earthy character. They have something to say, for sure.
are not known specifically for one type of grape. So we're not going to be a Willamette and just have a Pinot Noir. We're not going to be a Napa and just have a Cab or a Zinfandel. The grapes that we grow here, the list is getting longer every year. Grenache, Malvasia Bianca, Picpoul Blanc.
At Chateau Tumbleweed, we make Viognier, Montepulciano, Malbec,
Aglianico,
Rossiano.
Tannat.
We work with so many darn fruit varietals. It's awesome.
There are a lot of other varieties that excel in this climate that people don't know about yet, but when they try them, they will want them. And that's the point. We're trying to find the things that excel where we are and not try to placate a market.
And as climate change and global warming happens, I often think how lucky we are in Arizona to be advocates for so many different kinds of varietals. And they all grow here in Arizona, which is a pretty difficult place to grow grapes.
So typically when people ask me why we wanted to start a vineyard, my husband and I look at each other and we tell them we were crazy. When we started this, we knew absolutely nothing about growing grapes. Kent will tell you when he comes here, I follow him around like a little dog and ask him question after question after question. We take great pride in growing our grapes, and then we get them shipped off to the local winemakers, and we get to experience what they do on their end of things.
We source fruit, we don't own vineyards, and we work with growers only in Arizona, and these are dear friends of ours, so we have really strong relationships. Chateau Tumbleweed wouldn't exist without people giving a hand and pulling other people into the industry. So the DA Ranch is a super important relationship for us. Not only are they our business partners now, but they came along at a time where we were really ready to come out and didn't really have a route out, and they backed us. And in turn, we make their wine for them.
In 2009, we opened up F&B Showcase in Arizona Wine. About 5 years ago, I moved here, and now I'm knee-deep in the winemaking. Erecting this beautiful project here in Sonoita is truly a continuation of doubling down in our belief and admiration of the state.
To be part of something that's bigger than yourself. You get to see how everything that you've done for the whole year turns out in a bottle.
Wine has helped me really see that Arizona has its own palate, it has its own taste, it has its own terroir.
I think one of the things that is distinctive about Arizona also is general lack of attention in the wine tasting rooms. You're talking to the vintner, winemaker owner.
How cool is it that we have a new story to tell that comes with words that they've never heard before, or grape varieties that they've never heard before, and it makes for a pretty engaging and fun experience. And it's a story that is uniquely ours.